What you're about to hear is going to set the stage for everything that happens with winter weather across this country over the next 2 weeks. We are entering one of the most consequential stretches of the entire 2025 to 2026 winter season. Right now, on this Sunday morning, February 8th, 2026, millions of Americans are waking up to the coldest air of the winter. Wind chills are cratering to 40 and 45 below zero across the Northeast. But what makes this bigger than one cold weekend is what's happening far above our heads. A confirmed stratospheric warming event is actively tearing apart the polar vortex. By mid-February, that vortex is forecast to fully split, and the consequences will dominate weather patterns well into March. Simultaneously, a massive MJO wave is colliding with this breakdown, creating an atmospheric tug-of-war that will produce one of the wildest temperature swings in years. Record warmth in the heartland tomorrow. Life-threatening cold in the Northeast today. A pattern change finally delivering moisture to the west. And beyond Valentine's Day signals for significant winter storms. This is your complete breakdown of February 8th through the 20th. By the way, if you'd like specific weather forecasts for your region or city, please leave them in the comments. I'll answer them individually as time allows. Also, if you like the video and subscribe to my channel, you'd be very grateful. Now, let's move on. Let's start with what's happening right now. Because the cold across the eastern United States this morning is extreme by any standard. The Arctic high that settled in yesterday is fully entrenched, and with clear skies overnight allowing temperatures to freefall, Sunday morning is producing the most dangerous wind chills of the entire event. Albany, New York is ground zero, with wind chills reported near 45 below zero. That is frostbite in under 10 minutes on any exposed skin. Buffalo and Rochester are running 30 to 35 below. Syracuse sits at 25 to 30 below. Burlington, Vermont, and Portland, Maine are seeing 30 to 40 below. Boston is enduring wind chills of 20 to 25 below zero. Some of the coldest readings the city has seen in several years. New York City, despite its urban heat island, is seeing wind chills of 10 to 15 below, with actual temperatures in the single digits. Philadelphia wakes up to wind chills of 5 to 15 below. Washington, D.C. is hovering around zero for wind chills, which is remarkable for the nation's capital. Hartford and Providence are at 15 to 25 below. Pittsburgh sits at 15 to 20 below. Even the Southeast is feeling this. Charlotte is in the mid-teens. Raleigh is in the upper teens. Atlanta is in the low to mid-20s. Nashville hovers around 20 degrees. This cold will begin moderating by Monday as the Arctic high shifts east and a powerful ridge builds into the nation's midsection. And the warmth associated with that ridge is going to be absolutely jaw-dropping. By Monday afternoon, February 9th, temperatures across the Central Plains will be running 35 to 45 degrees above normal. Omaha and Lincoln, Nebraska are forecast to hit the mid to upper 60s, shattering daily records. Des Moines pushes into the low 60s. Sioux Falls, South Dakota could touch 60 degrees when it should be in the mid-20s. Kansas City climbs into the upper 60s. Minneapolis, after enduring one of the coldest stretches of the winter, surges into the 50s. St. Louis approaches the mid-60s. Oklahoma City and Dallas-Fort Worth push into the 70s. Amarillo reaches the 70s. Southern Texas flirts with 80 degrees. This warmth will sustain through the middle of the week and gradually press eastward, bringing relief even to the Northeast by Wednesday and Thursday. New York City should climb into the low to mid-30s by Wednesday and approach the upper 30s by Thursday. Boston sees a similar trajectory. Philadelphia pushes toward 40 by late week. The cold siege is ending, at least temporarily. Now let's talk about what's happening out west because a major pattern change is underway. The stubborn ridge that kept the western United States warm and dry for most of this winter is finally cracking. A deep trough is carving into the Pacific Northwest this weekend, and it's tapping into a significant moisture stream off the Pacific. This is the most meaningful precipitation event the region has seen in weeks. And for areas running 5 to 8 in below normal on moisture, it's arriving just in time. Seattle and Portland are looking at total rainfall of 2 to 4 in through early next week. Eugene and Medford in Oregon pick up heavy rain as well. The Cascades are getting hammered with snow, potentially accumulating a couple of feet in the higher passes. The northern Rockies across Idaho, western Montana, and northwest Wyoming are seeing heavy mountain snow. British Columbia, the Yukon, and southeast Alaska are picking up feet of snow at elevation. By Tuesday and Wednesday, this moisture train extends south into California. San Francisco and the Bay Area see rain arriving. Sacramento and the Central Valley get a solid soaking. The Sierra Nevada adds substantial snowpack with potentially 2 to 3 feet at the highest elevations. Los Angeles and San Diego could even see some rainfall by midweek. Denver, which has had an incredibly lackluster snow season, might finally pick up some accumulation as energy swings through the Rockies around Wednesday. For the period of February 10th through 14th, the weather pattern transitions into what I'd call the battleground phase. The ridge that brought record warmth to the plains will press east, but it won't fully dominate the eastern seaboard. Meanwhile, the trough over the west continues delivering active weather to the Pacific states. Between these two features, storm systems will try to develop along the temperature gradient. Both the European and GFS models are showing a system developing around February 11th to 13th that tracks from the southern plains northeast through the Ohio Valley. Here's how it breaks down by region. The southern flank of this system from Texas through Arkansas, the Tennessee Valley, and into Kentucky will see rain and thunderstorms. A marginal severe weather threat exists with this setup, meaning a few storms could produce gusty winds and hail. Nothing outbreak level, but something to monitor. Dallas, Fort Worth, Little Rock, Memphis, Nashville, and Louisville are all in the rain and thunderstorm zone. The northern side is where winter weather enters the picture. A corridor of snow and ice extends from the Midwest through the Ohio Valley into the Northeast. Chicago, Indianapolis, Detroit, Cleveland, and Columbus sit in the transition zone where precipitation type could fluctuate. The heaviest snow favors the upper Midwest through the Great Lakes and northern New England. Milwaukee, Green Bay, Minneapolis, Buffalo, Syracuse, Albany, Portland, Maine, and Burlington are all positioned favorably for accumulating snow. NOAA's Weather Prediction Center confirms an upper-level low over northern Mexico, shifting into the southern plains by Tuesday, with a second trough diving down the west coast by late week. This means the active pattern isn't a one-and-done deal. It's a conveyor belt of systems. Now here's where it ties into the bigger picture. A confirmed sudden stratospheric warming is actively unfolding over the Arctic right now. Temperature anomalies of 40 degrees C above normal have been measured near the 10 millibar level. Ensemble forecasts indicate the polar vortex will likely split into two lows around mid-February, with one displaced toward Eurasia and the other toward North America. Historically, when this happens, the effects propagate downward over 1 to 3 weeks, driving the Arctic oscillation negative and promoting cold air intrusions into the mid-latitudes. The catch is that a strong MJO wave is simultaneously acting as a counterforce, temporarily shielding the central and eastern U.S. from the full brunt of the collapse. That's why we see warmth this coming week, even as the vortex breaks apart. But this interference won't last. By February 15th through 20th, models suggest the MJO fades, and the stratospheric signal reestablishes. The warmth building across the east in the second week of February is likely temporary. By the third week, cold returns with reinforcing shots. For Valentine's Day weekend, the models have been oscillating on whether a significant storm develops for the East Coast. Ensemble spread is wide, and confidence is low. Some members show a meaningful system tracking through the Ohio Valley and up the coast. Others show suppression with the blocking signals and energy streaming across the country. I suspect some type of system develops, but details remain impossible to pin down. Cities along the I-95 corridor from D.C. through New York and Boston should stay alert for a possible WinRe system around February 13th to 15th. Let me give you the full city-by-city outlook for the February 15th through 20th period. For the Northeast, this is when the pattern potentially flips back colder. New York City sees temperatures falling back toward the upper 20s to low 30s, for highs with lows in the teens to low 20s. Boston trends similarly cold with highs in the upper 20s and lows in the single digits to teens. Buffalo and Syracuse return to the 20s for highs, with snow chances increasing. Albany and Burlington could see highs struggle to reach 25 and lows dropping to single digits. Portland, Maine may see the coldest readings with highs in the low 20s. Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. hover in the low to mid-30s for highs. For the Midwest and Great Lakes, Chicago sees highs in the mid-20s to low 30s, with increasing snow chances. Detroit and Cleveland are similar. Minneapolis drops into the teens for highs with lows well below zero. Milwaukee and Green Bay mirror that Arctic trend. Indianapolis stays in the upper 20s to low 30s. The Southeast maintains milder readings but runs cooler than the previous week. Atlanta hovers in the mid-4s to low 50s. Charlotte sits in the upper 30s to mid-40s. Raleigh is similar. Nashville drops into the mid-30s to low 40s. The Gulf Coast stays mild with Houston, New Orleans, and Jacksonville in the 60s. For the West, the trough keeps temperatures below normal. Seattle and Portland sit in the low to mid-40s, with continued rain chances. San Francisco stays mild in the 50s, with periodic rain. Denver drops into the 30s and 40s, with potential snow. Salt Lake City runs in the 30s. Boise and the Intermountain West stay cold. The Cascades, Sierras, and Rockies continue accumulating snowpack. The snowfall outlook for this entire period is one of the most active of the season. The Western Mountains finally get the goods with multi-foot totals in the Cascades, Sierras, and Northern Rockies. The Great Lakes and Northeast continue their snowy winter with additional accumulations. The upper Midwest sits in the crosshairs for significant snow, particularly during the latter half as the polar vortex collapse makes its surface impact felt. The southern tier stays in the rain zone. Bottom line, the next 2 weeks are a roller coaster. Record warmth gives way to returning cold. The West finally wakes up and the polar vortex collapse is about to make its presence known at ground level. This is going to be a February that people remember. Stay safe and I'll be right here tracking every development.